Just like virtually everywhere else in the postmodern world, the Catholic Church is a fairly polarized place these days, which is to say that it can be quite difficult or maybe even impossible to get various parties to agree on anything. But one thing we should easily be able to recognize and agree upon is that something needs to change in the church, and fast. Every survey that is conducted on Catholics reminds us that there is a crisis of faith. Successive generations are walking away, vocations are plummeting, and scandals seem to preoccupy all of our attention. And if you doubt that there is a crisis in the church today, or maybe you like what you see happening, let me offer a crude analogy that comes from the business world as we consider the mission of the church, which comes to us directly from Jesus, in case there's any doubt about that, when he said, "Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them and teaching them everything that I have taught you." Which is to say, go out and proclaim the kingdom in such a compelling way that people will be inspired to lay down their current lives as they are and be reborn through water and fire, that is to say, through baptism, and then dedicate their lives to discipleship and following Jesus. And that's what his disciples and apostles went on and did. They went out and preached the kingdom and converted countless people. Pope Paul VI, in his apostolic exhortation, I think that's what it was, Evangelii Nuntiandi, said that the mission of the church is to evangelize. Well, sadly, in the 15 years or so I've been Catholic, I can think of more people who have left my parish than who have converted in, and it's one of the biggest parishes in my archdiocese. When I first joined, I noticed that there were young families coming who were bringing their young children, who are now old enough to start making those decisions for themselves, and I've noticed they aren't around anymore. And I don't mean to dump on my parish. My parish isn't some sort of an exception. It's the norm. So for comparison's sake, I'm finally getting to that analogy I was going to use. Imagine a car company whose purpose is to produce and sell cars. And imagine that they just got their annual sales report for their network of dealerships, and it revealed that they were losing more customers than they were gaining. Do you think that there would be any doubt that they would treat that as a serious crisis that needs to be immediately confronted? If their purpose was to sell cars and their numbers were so pitiful to reveal that they were failing in their mission, there would be panic at every level in that organization, probably with hard resolutions to make immediate changes and very little tolerance for people who wanted to resist those changes. And this appreciation for the kind of crisis that the church is currently facing doesn't seem to be met by enough people. But from among those who can admit that and believe that we should work towards change, that's when we run into disagreement about what kinds of changes we should be making. And predictably, you get people from various ideological persuasions proposing solutions. But for the sake of simplicity and for conversation, I want to reduce those solutions that are offered to a spectrum. On one side, you have people who believe that if you want to draw people in from the outside, that is from the secular world, you have to make the church more like everything that they know out in the outside secular world. That way it will be more attractive to them. This is what I would call the get with the times approach to renewal. So they would say that we need to make concessions to the world regarding the things that are important to them. Our theology, our beliefs, our cultural expressions, our art, our design, our liturgy, even our architecture needs to conform to the fashions of the day, that is, to cultural relativism. Another way of saying this is that we need to adopt the sensibilities of the outside culture while still retaining the essential message of Jesus. We need to package the gospel in a secular cultural exterior. Now, I've spoken about this in other videos, so I don't want to belabor the point too much, but I will reiterate that culture is downstream from beliefs, just like our words are downstream from our thoughts. Our words are the incarnation of our thoughts. They are the material representation of things that have occurred to us, we've reflected upon, they've gone through a bit of a filtering process, and we thought, yeah, that's good enough that I will literally breathe life into it and make it accessible to others in the material world. That's what culture is to the way of life and beliefs of a people. So the culture of Catholicism has very specific origins grounded in its beliefs. The things that are uniquely Catholic, like our tradition of music, Gregorian chant, our theology, our blending of faith and reason, our art, design, and our architecture, like Gothic architecture, that is a unique expression of the Catholic faith tradition. Some like to say that Gothic architecture is theology in stone. These are all expressions of of our culture, the incarnation of our beliefs. To try to adopt a culture that is inherently not Catholic, like secular culture, and to try to package our beliefs in their music, their ceremony, their art and design and architecture would be like trying to communicate your thoughts with somebody else's words. So just take exactly what they say, repeat it back, and hope that it somehow conveys your thoughts. This is how self-defeating it is to try to take the message of Jesus, the message of the Catholic Church, and to wrap it in a cultural exterior that is born of a way of life that is not Catholic. And if that isn't convincing for you, or maybe this appears all too abstract and theoretical for you, the nice thing about all of this speculation is that it doesn't have to remain merely hypothetical, because there are plenty of real-world examples of communities that are descended from the Protestant Revolution who have gone all in on this theory of renewal, like the Anglicans or the Episcopalians. They've gone all in on just about everything that progressives in the Catholic Church are currently campaigning for us to adopt. And how has that worked out for them? Has it ushered in an age of renewal, or has it accelerated their decline? Unfortunately, it appears to be the latter. Here in Canada, where the Anglican Church is historically one of the largest non-Catholic Christian denominations, they released a report just last year that said within 2 decades, at the rate of decline they're currently experiencing, that is less than a generation, there will be no more members. The United Church, which is the formerly largest non-Catholic denomination in Canada, is also facing that same cliff. And they're not alone. This story can be retold countless times from mainline Protestant denominations who have acquiesced to the surrounding cultural relativism. But if making these concessions to the outside world, if this truly was the path to renewal, then these denominations who stopped speculating about this long time ago and started implementing it should be in the ecstasy of some springtime of renewal. But the opposite is true. So knowing that we have all of these real world examples that all tell the same story, how blindly committed to your ideological theories would you have to be to say, nah, it'll be different when we do it. This is still the path to renewal within the Catholic Church. We need to do what all of these desperately dying communities have already done. And while this is merely anecdotal, I find it hard to ignore. This downward decline that I've been describing is certainly present within my archdiocese, except for at least one glaring exception that I can think of, which is the FSSP chaplaincy, which offers the traditional Latin Mass. In the time since my family started attending it, maybe a couple of years ago, it has doubled in size. This in spite of the fact that we're only operating at 15% capacity because of government restrictions, and also because you can't receive communion because it's only offered on the tongue according to the old liturgical rubrics. People are still flocking to this liturgy because of the uniquely Catholic liturgical and theological expression that they find there, even though they can't receive communion. I'll leave you with one more analogy, which again, I admit is crude because it comes from the business world, but my expertise is in branding, so these analogies come easy to me. Whenever I'm consulting with a client about their brand or their brand strategy, there are criteria that I use to help them evaluate the direction that we're going on or what they currently have. One of those criteria is uniqueness, because when you start a new business, if you're not offering something unique, you're not giving consumers or the marketplace any reason to switch over to what you're offering. But when we say we need to get with the times, what we're really saying is that we need to suppress the things that make us unique. Our culture, liturgy, music, our art, our traditions. That is to say, we need to become more like the outside world, or we need to become redundant. Now, again, if we were talking about a business, that would make absolutely no sense. No sense. If you appear on the marketplace with a product packaged the exact same way, with the same price and everything, it's the same product, nobody's going to leave what they already have and come over to your offering. They would just say, thanks, we already have that. Why would we switch? Why would we disrupt our comfort, our familiarity, and come over to embrace the same thing over here? Catholicism has historically offered the world something unique, with the added benefit that it's also true. These are its traditions, its doctrines, its beliefs, its culture, its art, its ceremony, its liturgy, and on and on and on. These are its traditions, and its traditions are what make it unique. It is an utter fool's errand to say that we can make the Catholic Church more attractive to the outside world by giving them and offering them what they already have. The way to renewal in the Catholic Church, the way to evangelize the outside world, is by embracing our traditions, which all amount to our culture. Hey, thanks for watching that. If you enjoyed it, then be sure to like and subscribe for more. And if you want to support the making of content like this, then please consider joining my online community, The Reinforcements. It's kind of like Patreon, but instead of being beholden to a big tech company, it's a website I built entirely myself, so there's no risk of us being censored or shut down or anything like that. There are hundreds of people who have already signed up, and our mission is to renew and reinforce the church. So if that's you, then come check it out. As an added bonus for certain tiers, I will also send you a gift box from Glory and Shine, which is a Catholic, family-owned and operated company. They make bath and body products. They're their beard balm I'm supporting, or I'm sporting right now. I'm not just a spokesperson, I'm actually a customer. So even if you don't join the Reinforcements, maybe check them out anyways. Glory and Shine, they're an amazing company.